I'm George Freeman. I'll be your host today for about 30 minutes. I'm really going to give you the big picture, what I've discovered from some research, what it's doing, give you some forecasts, and then how we can solve this whole dilemma going forward. Can you guys hear me okay? Cool. Okay, there we go. Quick thing on the agenda. We're going to do Gen AI, dark web, and identity threats, emerging threats, and we're going to get into recommendations at the end of that. So first things first, let's go ahead and jump into the dark side, as they call it. Standard disclaimer. If you want to read that, I'll give you the summary. This research was performed on Georgia's own equipment. It was not anything to do with LexisNexis. It was done in a way that it isolated itself in case anything were to go wrong. It's also what I call read-only research. You go out, you acquire the information, screen grab it, and that's it. No accounts are created, no deals were made, no purchases were made. I'm not buying your identity data, so don't worry about that. And we just want to make sure that everybody's aware that this is strictly off the record, if you will. Look at a couple of sites here. This one, I was looking for this for a while, actually. And what this is research I've done for about the past year. And you've heard about your PII being stolen. Who's had confirmation of that? 1, 2, 3, everybody, right? Thank you, Equifax 2017. I mean, it's out there. So the thing is, okay, now what? So this database, if you look at the numbers there, it is substantial. It's in the billions. And notice the emphasis on Instagram. That's the attack surface. That's where a lot of identity stuff can be trolled, because a lot of times people are using their personal accounts and just splatter way too much out there. Just ask my extended family. Notice the link to Telegram. I do want to mention this because dark web's gone through some changes. And what's happened is the old school folks like me who understand that it's hard and it's tricky and you got to be careful and anonymous. New kids want to do this all through mobile. Think about your mobile device and everything it pings out to reveal itself. It's telling the network, hey, I'm here. It's telling Bluetooth. It's telling Wi-Fi. It's not exactly anonymous. So Telegram gives them an avenue to buy breached data. So it's a very easy way to realize, this thing is growing like crazy. Who knows somebody who's gotten a fake ID? Kids? So they've had their identity stolen? They don't know it yet, but they will. OnlyFake was in the news going back a couple of years, but the site's still alive and well. And as you can see, it basically creates the fake ID or passport. Price is cheap. Notice the countries, the documents, different backgrounds, and the 1200 DPI quality. Now, is that a guarantee that the fake ID will work? It depends. I did some presenting for AMVA, which is the motor vehicles guys. The annual event was in April. Learned basically the 1200 DPI is the starting point. The state-of-the-art state license is 9 layers and requires different light wavelengths to detect all of the watermarks, basically. So long story short, recreating those accurately is a bit of a challenge. A lot of the states don't have the money. So we hear this story over and over again. Their IDs are cheap and easily copyable. And they're demoing the beta selfie verification. That is generative AI. So they can actually reveal themselves to match the photo, supposedly, to a, quote, live image. And I do want to put that in quotes. It's a manipulated image. It is video, but it's manipulated. Okay. You don't have to go to the dark web anymore. There are plenty on the public internet. And these guys are amazing. So fakeyourid.com. Make a note. Go try it out. Not on company devices, please. But notice the payment form. It's all digital payment. And they list examples in all the different states. What's happening is a lot of the college kids especially keep hearing the same story. We need a fake ID. Let's go buy some alcohol. And they're like, sure, let's go online and get a fake ID. Well, it could go wrong. They take all of their information, they send it in, they ship back a fake ID. I'm hearing from the AMBA folks that the ports are intercepting bags of these things. like in the hundreds of thousands of perfect replica IDs. So there's that effort that's going on. But the IDs themselves, they don't realize that they've sold their identity to somebody overseas. Let's look at Fraud GPT. Alive and well, this one's been around for a while. It is a large language model-based threat tool. Notice the box. Gives you an idea what they can do with it. Now, what has this done for the attack patterns, what we're seeing in the threat landscape, if you will? The operatives out there, you probably read in the news things like Shiny Hunters and Scattered Spider and Lapsus and all these ones that make the news because it makes your head spin. These are the kinds of tools they're using. And if you're familiar with SolarWinds from a few years ago, Mandiant had their pen test tools breached, all 300 of them. So those have been in the wild for a while. So essentially, they're red teaming your organization. So an agency will be pen tested by threat actors. They will have this done in a matter of minutes or even hours. They find the vulnerability. Guess what? They have generative AI create the exploit. So it writes the code, they proof it, and then they've got a whole nice set of botnets to choose from to deploy it. The turnaround can be within a single day. And the scary part is, remember you'd hear in the news somebody, we learned about a data breach. They've been in our organization 6 months. In some cases, it was like an hour ago. And the data's gone that fast. That's the scary part. So we're going to see a few examples of that going forward. Here's some of the listings of all the things it can do, which is just tremendous. Most common, though, is phishing. They'll write very well-crafted phishing emails, texts, and so forth. Who's ever gotten one of those? What they look like in the past? Didn't you ever like capital letters and your fraud team was like, oh yeah, don't do that. We're testing you. Well, they're getting better and better. They're using logos, so it looks like it's from a bank, for instance. And they're really getting to act on urgency. There's a lot of, do it now. You have to do this. This is an emergency situation. Who's gotten one of those texts from the toll charge that's overdue, like times 100? My favorite was the one from Massachusetts. I'm in Florida. Okay. They're using a tool, and this is one of many that are for sale. Notice the price. It's on sale. Point being, it is readily available. This is code that's distributed throughout the dark web. They simply do a digital currency exchange, use encrypted email, encrypted messaging, and they get their hands on the code and simply start running some tricks. Now, how they're doing it, this is interesting. They use something called gray routes. There's like alert services use these. When you get a sporadic alert from the weather service, something like that. SIM farms, this is where they've had compromised SIMs. SIM spoofing, they'll basically take over the SIM. SIM is the device inside your phone. It's an eSIM now that registers it to the carrier. So once they've compromised your phone's SIM, it owns the phone number for that period of time. We don't know how long. It could be for an hour while they blast this stuff out. They also use data breach lists, random number generators, and that's my favorite. Oh, we got George. Now my wife and I are getting the same phishing scam texts at the same time. Who's got a good one? Any hands? Because the one I have is a middle schooler from the nearby area was doing a fundraiser. Help, we need your help. We would really like you to donate to my worthy cause. That's funny. His area code is a toll-free 844. That's interesting. Yeah, but how many people are going to do that? Think of constituents coming to a government portal who have access to benefits. Think of this kind of thing hitting them. I used to have that conversation. Who's got parents that are dealing with it? Will call you up and say, hey, your father's up to something. Doesn't look good. He thinks somebody from Nigeria needs some money and he's going to send it to him. No. My poor dad, he back in the day, he was very technical like me. He had a nice Mac. And the university he said they called him. He's alumni from the University of Maryland. I was like, Dad, what are they doing? He goes, I don't know. He's got a terminal window open. He's doing something. I was like, Dad, hit the power immediately. And he did. I said, don't even use that Mac. You're going to have to reload it. I've been affected. I had a compromise take place because of a tool got in. All of a sudden, my Outlook started hitting me a few times. Turn the power off, reload. Don't even use the drive. Just throw it away. The only way to deal with infection. This merchant, by the way, is taking advantage of, shall we say, the lack of security of your relatives. Think of a typical constituent coming in. The threat actor landscape, they call this the increasing surface area right now. Personal apps. And this guy, you pay them, and they will go in and compromise. Why? Because a lot of times the security that you're supposed to set up on Facebook, who's ever done like Facebook security, Instagram security? Yeah, oxymoron, right? Isn't it a little bit buried? And you really have to dig through layers to like, oh no, I want only my friends to see this. And yeah, that's by design. Because they want to harvest your data, sell it off to the third parties. Big business. God bless America. But these guys hack based on the lack of security. So in some cases, 10% they claim they can't hack the account and you'll get your money back. And if you believe that, I got more to tell you. Okay, who's heard of information stealers? Anyone? These are tools that roam out there in the form of various malware, often like free games in the App Store or in Google Play. Typically, because a lot of them are Android-based, you'll see them more in Google Play. Goes after web browsers, Discord, Telegram, VPN clients, and it's on the device harvesting your data, whether you like it or not. So this, again, if they discover online benefits, maybe through a government agency, something like that, or Social Security Administration or IRS, they'll start filing tax returns on you, on your behalf. Who's ever gotten a letter from these agencies saying, somebody trying to file a return? Or let's see, during lockdown, you get one of those letters that you applied for a loan. I had relatives coming forward all over the place. Yeah, not good. Some of the technical details, I don't want to bore you with it, but it basically harvests everything. Username, password, does file grab, seed phrase, credit cards, you name it. A lot of browser support, of course. So the power of this stuff is more and more substantial. And then you got the problem of, it's George, it's me, it's on my device. I don't know this is there. I'm going in online and accessing privileged areas, which something like this could use to make changes to my account. Okay. Here's an Android banking botnet. I use this example because, again, these are for sale. Notice the price. It's on sale this week. Point being, this is the one that can ride over the privileged banking connection to insert things like a transfer or a payment or maybe a Venmo or something like that. That's where it gets interesting, right? Again, the same user, the user's device they used last time. It is a form of, it's a challenge because think about how you identity proof somebody and authenticate them. It is them. It's George. I'm on my device. I'm authenticating. I'm doing two-factor. I'm doing whatever you ask me to do. It's me. How do you catch this stuff? I want you to think about that. So we're going to look at how. Oh, this is my favorite. You need a document. These are widely for sale. These have been going on for years. Birth certificate. Why is that important? There's a certain debate about residency right now. Yeah, this stuff's for sale all over the place. So what's interesting about this is this little phrase, see the faster processing? We file directly with the processing agencies. It saves you time. How are they doing that? Directly with the processing agencies. At this point, I'm going, oh, okay, this is not good. Insider. Now, at AMVA, I asked them about that. Motor vehicles, I was like, they must be a hotbed for fraud. You know, insiders creating IDs. We always had that theory. They said, no. On average, this is a good stat. The states typically will escort a DMV employee to the door 2 to 4 times a month. They have that much surveillance on them. So it's not coming from those agencies. We're talking about the other ones where things like processing for benefits takes place. Agencies don't have a lot of money. States, absolutely. Federal, kind of a mess right now. In fact, they're probably taking advantage of that mess. Let's think about that. Here's a death certificate. My wife does estate planning. This one is really bad news for them. You can go after things like the insurance policy. Life insurance? Absolutely. Here's your death certificate. I love how they point out, it can be used for faster processing of benefits. Yeah, sure. Or maybe you lost a copy. They're always putting a spin. This is the actual text, by the way, from the merchant that's advertising it. They put a spin on things like, it can be used for other purposes to help things along. Okay. All right, this is another one, the registered and verifiable, thanks to our incredible global network of contacts. Once again, who do they know? What's the relationship? It's if you're picturing Swiss cheese, that's probably appropriate right now. Okay, I get this request a lot. George, tell me the crystal ball. What's coming around the corner? Now, those of you who have Xanax, raise your hands. Can you share? Sorry about the anxiety, but we're going to get through this. First things first, we've got deepfakes will become unrecognizable. A lot of vendors right now, 90% deepfake capture. Okay, who's ever heard of the game Whack-A-Mole? It's only going to get better, and it's a problem. My favorite was the Google Pixel 10. There's a deepfake in a box. It does not require the cloud. The phone itself will do real-time translation with your voice to another language, and it sounds just like you. What could go wrong? So any voice authentication that might be in place, some agencies, I think, were looking at that. You just got to tell them, put the brakes on, stop. Shadow AI, that's an issue. Personal accounts being used, ChatGPT, Anthropic, doesn't matter. I have a certain family relative who loves it. It's retired. It's been using ChatGPT to do all this great thing. And I'm like, okay, so he's training the model with all of his information he's uploading. He's probably using voice because he's too lazy to type, and he's training that model too. Once it's gone, you're never going to get it back. And think about agencies that might be testing code, documentation that needs to be rewritten for them and polished. All of that went one direction. You'll never get it back. Let's see, new attack surface. Yeah, this one's bad. Windows, yeah, okay. Windows recall. Anybody heard of this? It's been slowly rolling out on Windows 11. It's supposed to be like a backup capture of everything you did on the device. This was mostly laptops. What could go wrong? It's storing 25 gig, about 3 months worth of data right on the device. Don't think that's not going to be in the crosshairs. And Free VPN 1, that's another free VPN. Guess what? They're capturing every web page you go to. Now, they claim this is to get all the hostile stuff out of it to help you. Right. What are they doing with that data? And computer using agents, we're actually going to look at that a little bit more in detail, but OpenAI operator is, it's basically coming in as a nifty little agent. I've had, even my wife's an attorney, has had the law community embrace these agents. It's great. It'll help you with office tasks. My favorite one is it can read through all your email. And it can prioritize everything. And it can even respond to you via email. Think about where that data access is going. Now, if it's done right and you have Copilot set up with your organization, your domain in a protected enclave, you're good. But if you use a personal operator to do this, yeah, OpenAI won't do that for you. Okay, what else? Sorry, this thing's being a little glitchy. There we go. Non-human identity threats. Who's heard of this? This is more in the IT cyber world right now. They're watching this. Long story short, a normal identity is a username and some kind of credential you have to supply. And that's issued and verified and managed by security teams and so forth and policy. Non-human is what the developers code into their modules at a container level to help do services. Why is that a problem? Agencies are not unlike anybody else. Right now we're in a period called API sprawl. They're outsourcing services. States are doing this all over the place. Some of the data breaches you probably heard about, that big state on the West Coast had one a little while back. It was a third party. That's the story more and more. Non-human identity can be used to come in or be compromised. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a workflow that could figure out that there's risk showing up? Just planted a seed in your head. Okay, sorry. Financial world, agentic AI versus Gen AI in finance. Gen AI does content creation. We've seen that. That's all our chat GPTs and Copilot. Agentic AI is more autonomous. It'll assume the role of a task, do it for you, and produce the results. George's favorite phrase, what could go wrong? Here's a web app being used by an agent to be tested. And notice what it's doing. It's got its own logic. It's going through and looking through the tests, looking at the results, either coming to a conclusion, going to the next step, or just simply bringing back what it discovered. Could this be scaled? Absolutely. Is it being scaled? Most likely. Which means all these agencies that are sitting vulnerable, knowing they're locked out of funding, they can't do anything about it, it's a big hot mess, state level, things like that, are probably having this going on right now. And the demonstrations I've seen started at the beginning of the year. Long story short, they're low and slow. And there's a very interesting detail about that. They act like a browser. Think of full self-driving Teslas. They're very slow, drive like a little old lady going to church in the right lane at the speed limit. They come to a complete stop. Same idea with these operators. The agentic AI runs very methodically, very calculated, very slowly. So there's no volume you can pick up on, but you can pick up on that pattern. We're going to talk about that. George, how are we going to fix this? Let's talk about the recommendations. Okay. LexisNexis does identity risk. It's a great way to think about it. We're going to reveal risk through a rules-based policy at what are called touch points. So when the user logs in, clicks a touch point, login button. When a user goes in and creates a new profile, onboarding, click submit, there's a touch point. If you have a single page app and they're going through a bunch of questions and answers for, say, benefits qualification, and they click submit, that single page app can have behavioral measurements taking place. That touch point is key to figuring out, does risk exist and what do you want to do about it? The good news is a lot of our customers, what they do is they don't reject instantly because that just leads to false positives. We don't want that in our user experience. Instead, what will happen is fraud risk detected could be handed over to the appropriate team. Flag the transaction, flag that transfer, flag that account number change they just tried to submit. That's the power of this capability, fraud risk. Notice we're not saying it's fraud yet because it hasn't happened. Things that happen online are before we actually prove later that it was fraud. So I want to make sure you're clear on the difference. Fraud risk detected. Now, what it's figuring out, this is device risk. Okay, so we're really starting at when the device first appears at the web portal, a script is going to run on it. First things first, if they're bad actors or a bot or something like that, they probably won't let that script run. Guess what? That's an unknown session. Typically, that's rejected. That's called noise. So that'd be easy in your rejection. Now what they come in and we can detect things that are elements of risk that can then be correlated in a score. The user doesn't know this is happening. It's all transparent. So from a user experience, all the things I'm showing you are going to happen sub-second. It's not a perceivable impact to any of the user experience, which a lot of agencies like. A lot of commercial entities love this stuff. Now, I do want to show a couple things here, because one of the things that we can do at the device level is look for velocity and anomaly. Velocity is, why is George showing up more than 5 times in the last hour? Let's assign some risk to that. Let's give it an increase of -5 to his score. The score ranges from -100 to +100. The agency decides where they want to kind of set the threshold on the decisioning. Anomaly could be, why is George's device trying to apply for the same benefits using 100 different identities? That's where we expose all that compromised PII. That's just at the device level. Let's go a little bit further. Now we can go back in time. Our DDP platform, Dynamic Decision Platform, is capable of showing you the LexID digital associated. This is an analytics version of George, what George has done online. That's basically George's history. And we can notice what's going on over time. It's just getting worse and worse, and finally hit negative 80. And this is where the workflow essentially negative risks somebody out of the flow. So we often see this happen. We did a lot of stuff during lockdown. You can probably imagine the unemployment insurance was on fire. Their volumes would go from tens or hundreds of thousands in case of that big state down south central U.S. They were in the 30 million applications a day. And they were like, we don't have that many citizens in this entire state. So you can imagine that negative risk actually started to age out and get rid of bots, fakes, and all the things that were creating that noise. And their volumes plummeted. A couple states come forward, say, yeah, you saved us about $1 billion last year. I mean, this stuff's real. And this is just at the device level. Now, what you're seeing on the screen there is a combination of the global data. So every organization George has been to that's in our workflow, there's 6,000 plus of these things, is going to contribute to this digital identity network. So basically think of it as the risk history that George exhibited does two things for you. It can show you really bad things like, why are there 26 account telephones associated with George? You can have a rule that just looks for that. If it's above 5, add some negative risk. If it's above 10, more negative risk. You have complete control over this policy, by the way. So it's doing all of this intelligence work for you. And more importantly, though, in the case of trusted users, let's say I went to my bank and then I went to get a renewal of my pilot's license. I'm not a pilot, but just an example. And I come to the agency, they can actually go pull the information from the global network that says George is exhibiting positive trust. There's a trust tag associated with that. And that can reward users and relax friction. We like that story. Okay, let's get to the really good stuff. Okay, so the device comes in, it's risk-free, it is George, he's on his device, life is good, right? Well, we're still not quite sure because even with IAL2 and other workflows, it really doesn't prove without a doubt it's a human or it is that person by their name. That's what IDverse is all about. That's why we acquired them this past year. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to take a deep learning engine and they're going to look at the video and capture of the video as well as the capture of the physical ID. It's going to do two things. It's going to break down the ID to see whether or not it's legitimate. What it's not going to do is look at things like templates, which a lot of DocAuth solutions do. Threat actors know this. They've gotten around templates. This is deep learning based. There's 4 main engines and a lot of sub-engines in the hundreds. It's all machine learning trained. And best part about this is that the effectiveness is fantastic. My favorite, though, is when you actually go to onboard, they'll capture the face of the user. I'm going to show you an example in a minute. But when the user comes back and says, oh, I would like to do a big transfer, or I'd like to assign my benefits to somebody else, or I'd like to change the account number where the benefits are deposited, it can do a quick check on the user. It'll capture the face and compare to what was captured earlier in Fraud Hub. Guess what that does? Bye-bye deepfakes. You're out of here. Bye-bye impersonators. Bye-bye family fraud. Not happening. The face will not match. In fact, the way that captures the face is like geek overload. It's cool. It actually looks at elements of the face that indicate whether the person's alive or not. This is how they can blow away things like the latex mask or the inserted presentation attack defense where they do inserted video, because I'd mentioned that earlier. There was a use case with one of the DMVs up in New York, New Jersey. They were paying a third party to take the driver's test for teenagers. What could go wrong, right? I mean, how lazy can you get? Anyway, that was inserted video. This would blow that out. So if they ID'd the person, you couldn't have that inserted video take advantage. Before we go, I want to show you a real quick example of this. Okay, this is what the user will go through. Okay, got your overview. Getting ready Okay, you've probably seen these before, but notice how fast this takes place. He's just holding the ID. He's not even turning it over. That's it, done. He actually captured multiple frames doing that, by the way. You have the option through policy to say, hey, do you want to let the user change this stuff? Maybe the address is out of date, something like that. That's an option. The face verification, this is fun. They did a little emoji. So the user experience on this is actually really fun, and it's quick, and 99% of them are successful. 97% of them are successful on the first try. This is the kind of experience we've been waiting for. Because of the machine learning basis, it doesn't have to worry about templates and formats. In fact, new IDs can be suddenly issued and show up, and the trained model can actually parse through it and go, we've collected a lot. It's doing OCR and other tricks, and it can actually have enough to go by to even validate it at that point. But it's also training on the new type of ID they just submitted.